And now the last part is my case for a 3.5 year tribulation instead of a 7, starting with Daniel 7:25. And I'm gonna do a summary. I'm gonna do a summary because this whole thing is deep. This is a pretty deep teaching. Yeah, we're gonna start with Daniel 7:25, and my argument is that the Great Tribulation is 3.5 years. It's the time when the Antichrist actually comes into authority, and he push a hard line. If you're not gonna follow him, if you're not gonna get with that system, the mark, the false prophet, the Antichrist, the whatever statue or whatever he put up, his image, the mark, the number of his name, the 666. Like, if you don't get with all that, you ain't gonna be able to buy, sell. You're gonna be killed, jail, death, all that. That's when he comes into full power, in authority over the whole world. I believe that's a 3.5 year period. Okay. Daniel 7:25, talking about the Antichrist. We already talked about him a little bit. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Persecution against those that won't, follow his lead. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand. Talking about the people of God gonna be subject to his authority, subject to his power. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time, which is 3.5 years. A time is 1 year, times is 2 years, so that 2 plus 1 make 3, and then the dividing of time, which is a half. So we're going to say 3.5 years. Okay, let's go to Daniel chapter 8, verse 23 through 27. And in the latter time of their kingdom, and this is the Antichrist again. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. Remember in 2 Thessalonians, it said, whose coming is of the devil, is of Satan, with all, what would it say? Lying wonders, with all power and lying wonders. Yeah. 2 Thessalonians. See, it go right along with it. But I ain't just going to quote it. I'm going to read it. Okay, it said, verse 9, 2 Thessalonians 2:9, talking about the Antichrist, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Now, Daniel chapter 8, verse 24, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, whose coming is after Satan. Yeah, that's who he's empowered by. But not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So he going to be having his way, and he going to be killing the people of God. All right. And through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace, or you could say by prosperity, shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the Prince of Princes, talking about Jesus, but he shall be broken without hand. Because like I said, Revelation 19, when Christ come back, he going to deal with the Antichrist, the false prophet, all that. Verse 26, and the vision Okay, it's just talking about Daniel when he received the vision. I don't have to read them two scriptures. Okay, Daniel chapter 9, verses 24 through 27. Oh yeah, now this is kind of deep. Now this is the only part where it talk about a 7 year period, but the tribulation starts in the middle of the 7 year period. Okay, I don't even. Well, I was say I don't even really want to read that, but I'm gonna read it. 70 weeks. Now, when it says weeks, it's talking about a 7 year period. Like a week is 7 days, but it's talking about 7 years. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore. Now this is talking about the end times. The going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks. And 62 weeks, which is 62 sets of 7 years. 62 weeks, 62 7 year periods. The street shall be built again in the wall, even in troublous times. And after 62 or 62 weeks, 62 7 year periods, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. So this is when he died on the cross, because he didn't do it for himself, he did it for us. And the people of the prince that shall come, the Antichrist, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Or it could have been the Romans after 70 AD, but it had double meanings. Like if you look at Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, is like they're actually talking about kings. I think Isaiah 14 is the king of Babylon, but it also gives you a revelation of Satan. And Ezekiel 28, it give you is talking about some king, but it also give you revelation about the devil, though. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, he says, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city, and history repeat itself too. But so the same stuff that one leader from way back in the day might have wanted to do, another leader or rise up and want to do the same thing. Like Hitler persecute the Jews, the Antichrist is going to be persecuting the Jews. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, it says, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. That's funny that it say with a flood, because in Revelation 12, it talk about the devil sending a flood, and the earth opened up and helped. Okay. Desolations are determined. And okay, yeah, this the Antichrist. Now here's this where everybody get the big 7 year thing. But how did people get that the rapture is and then the 7 years after where is that? That's not in the Bible. Like the rapture and then 7 years and like where does it say that right before this 7 year period that is a rapture? Like who got that? Who put that in order? Like that's not in the Bible. You ain't gonna find that nowhere in the Bible. That's the order, the rapture, the 7 year period, the return to Christ. Like who put the rapture? Who separated the rapture and put it in the front of the 7 years? Like that's somebody. That's what somebody wanted. They don't want to have to go through all that. And like I don't know how they got that. I can't get that nowhere from the word. I would never read the Bible and come up with that. Somebody had to put that in your head. You will never read the Bible and just come up with that. Never. You have to be taught that and accept that, and then you kind of find scripture to go along with it. But okay. And then it says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. So there is going to be some type of agreement, covenant, that's set for 7 years. That's the only mention of 7 years. As far as tribulation or the end times, this the only 7 year period is they done made some type of agreement. They done made some type of agreement for 7 years. And in the midst of the week, in the midst of the 7 year period, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. See, this is persecution against the Jews and the temple and getting all up in their business. You did. And he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate, or it could be read, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolator, which is the Antichrist. So he gonna act up in the middle of this 7 year period, and he gonna focus on Israel and the Jews and trying to interfere with their worship of God, basically. Even though we really supposed to be done with sacrifices and all that. That's what the book of Hebrews is about, saying Jesus was the last sacrifice. So, but anyway, he gonna try to interfere with they worship of God and what they got going on. He wanna interfere with what they got going on, because even though a lot of the Jews don't recognize Jesus, they not finna worship the Antichrist neither. Even though they might not have a proper revelation of Jesus, they not finna go along with this Antichrist stuff either. So they gonna be resisting that. You know what I mean? And he gonna have a problem with it, because when you in power like that and everybody worshiping you and all that, you get so mad about the ones that don't worship you. That's why when Nebuchadnezzar had his image and everybody bowing down, he got so mad at the 3 Hebrew boys because they wouldn't. You know, that's how the devil feel about Israel. That's how the Antichrist gonna feel about Israel, because people all over the world gonna be going along with his plan and his system, but the main ones rebelling gonna be the Jews. You know what I'm saying? Even though they partly blinded and don't worship Christ as the Messiah, they not finna go along with that Antichrist stuff. So he gonna really have an issue with them. And they the people of God. That's the race that Jesus came from. So he gonna always be mad at them. Revelation 12. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. Okay. Now, see, here's the thing. So there is a 7 year period, but everything is pretty normal until the middle of the 7 year period. That's when the Antichrist comes into control. That's when he really make his move and really take over and really push his line. Give me Daniel 11. Now, I'm gonna say it's hard to tell when he stops talking about the past kings and he transitions to the Antichrist. Because all these kings in Daniel 11 is the king of Egypt, the king of Syria. The king of Egypt is supposed to be the king of the south, I think, and the king of I wrote it down. I think I did. Yeah, the king of the south is supposed to be Egypt. The king of the north is supposed to be Syria, and these are all historical kings until I want to say about around verse 29, verse 30, it gets kind of tricky. And then by the time it get to verse 36, I would say that's the Antichrist for sure. But I start in Daniel 11:29. At the time appointed, he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as the former or as the latter. So it's some interesting stuff in verse 30. Verse 30 through 35, it's going to be persecution on the saints. Now, I don't know if this is the actual Antichrist or this is just some other king that wanted to persecute Christians or Jews or whatever. But it's some interesting stuff. I'll say it says verse 30, it says, he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. It talk about him taking away he's polluting the sanctuary and taking away the daily sacrifice, and shall place the abomination that maketh desolate, which we just talked about in Daniel chapter 9. No, yeah. Daniel chapter 9. Yeah, so we just talked about that in Daniel chapter 9. Verse 32, it says, such as do wickedly against the covenant of God, shall he corrupt by flatteries, or he cause to dissemble, or cause them to, I don't know, I need to study that more. To dissemble is basically like hypocrisy. So, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, or it says he shall cause to dissemble. I don't really know what that means. I have to look that word up. I really need to look that up and amplify, but this ain't the point I'm making. It's just interesting. Verse 33, and they that understand among the people, oh, hold up. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword. This is talking about Christians, people that serving God. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame. People was burned at the stake, burned alive, and all type of stuff. By captivity, that's it, jail, imprisonment, and by spoil, that means robbed, have your property confiscated and taken many days. So it's already tribulation. You know what I mean? Now, when they shall fall, they shall be helped with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries or with hypocrisy. So going back to verse 31, it says, or verse 32, calls to dissemble. That means like they're gonna play both sides. Help like an informant or somebody like that, like they're gonna play both sides. I think that's what that means. But it says they'll cleave to them with flatteries or with hypocrisy. So they're gonna be playing both sides. Verse 35, and some of them of understanding shall fall to try them and to purge and to make them white even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. So even the saints are going to be getting persecuted and dying. Now 36, I know for sure, is talking about the Antichrist. And it says, and the king shall do according to his will. He going to have his way. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God. They go back to 2 Thessalonians, I want to say chapter 2, because it said he sat in the place of God, saying that he was God. All right. And the king shall do according to his will. And he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every God, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Here's an interesting scripture. Verse 37. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, his ancestors, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God. For he shall magnify himself above all. Don't that sound like the devil? Now, some people is like, oh, snaps. That mean the Antichrist gonna be gay? Hey, people are like the Antichrist gonna be a homosexual, cuz. But say, I don't think that's what that mean. The desire of women is like he not gonna have no regard for what women want. Basically, he not gonna have no regard for women's rights, women's liberties. That's what it means when it says the desire of women. It's not saying that he not gonna desire women, like he gonna be gay. I mean, that's possible, but I think this is more of a better understanding that he not gonna have no regard for what women want, their desires, their aspirations, women's rights. He not gonna have no regard for women's rights, for women's desires, the desire of women, women's desires. He not gonna have no regard for that. He gonna be chauvinist, misogynist. You did. And you know, a lot of other cultures, they already like that anyway. You know what I mean? So, verse 38, but in his estate he shall honor the God of forces, which probably Satan himself. Like Jesus honored the Father, like the Antichrist is going to honor Satan. You know what I mean? And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Okay. I don't wanna. Yeah, it goes all the way down to verse 45 though. Yeah, so but anyway, he gonna have total control of the world. And we'll go to Daniel 12, verse 1 through 3. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall great tribulation. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. That's that great tribulation when the Antichrist is in full control. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life. That's at the second coming of Christ. Because the great tribulation is followed by the second coming. The rapture, the judgment, the second coming, all that is wrapped in one pretty much. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. That's the resurrection, last day, judgment, last day, second coming, last day. After, this is the resurrection, but the resurrection is after the tribulation. The rapture and the resurrection go together, which goes along with the second coming of Christ. And this is after the tribulation. See, people try to put the resurrection and the rapture before the tribulation. But we seen that in Matthew 24 that the tribulation come first. Then the second coming of Christ and the resurrection, the gathering of his saints in the air, the rapture. Matthew 24 shows you that the tribulation is before the rapture. Matthew 24. And we know that a part of the rapture is the resurrection. And we know that's on the last day. Now, this scripture right here lets you know that the resurrection, which is a part of the rapture, is after the tribulation. He already said, great tribulation, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Then the next scripture, many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Some the everlasting life, and some the shame and everlasting contempt. But remember, there's the first resurrection and there's another resurrection. But the first resurrection is for the Christians who don't have to worry about the second death. Revelation chapter 20. And we see that this resurrection is after the tribulation. You dig? Both resurrections is after the tribulation. But the first resurrection is after the tribulation, before the millennial reign. The second resurrection is after the millennial reign. You know what I mean? So many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some the everlasting life, and some the shame and everlasting contempt. And then it's got another scripture. I don't think I need to read that. What is 7, verse 7? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth forever, that it shall be for a time, times and an half. That's that same 3.5 years again. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, he gonna be in power for 3.5 years, persecuting the saints, the Christians, the Jews, anybody that ain't going along with his system. When he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. That's when Christ's gonna come back and wrap it up. 3.5 years. How many times have we seen 3.5 years? In the book of Daniel, we done seen 3.5 years, 2-3 times? The 7-year period wasn't the tribulation, it was the agreement that they had. The tribulation is when the Antichrist come into power, which is the 3.5 years. And I ain't even hit Revelation yet. Okay, so that's verse 7. Let's go to verse 10 through 13, specifically 11 and 12. Still Daniel chapter 12. Many shall be purified during the tribulation. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. Remember, he said in Revelation 3, it's going to come on the whole earth. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And this right here kind of tricky. But remember, 3.5 years is 1,260 days. Remember that though. On a 360-day year. And from the time that the daily sacrifice, remember we talked about the daily sacrifice being taken away at the end of Daniel 9, and where else we see that at 11? We saw that in somewhere in Daniel 11, and then at the end of Daniel chapter 9, it keeps talking about he want to pollute the sanctuary and stop the sacrifices and all that. Okay, verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. So we see the 3.5 years. Now we see the 1,290 days. So that's an extra 30 days, an extra month on the 3.5 years. Then it says, blessed is he that waiteth and cometh. But see, I ain't finna try to calculate the coming of Christ to the day, because he already said no man know the day nor the hour. But anyway, he said, blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. So that's 1,335 days. So you got 3.5 years, which is 1,260 days. Then you got the 1,290 days, which is an extra 30 on that. Then you got the 1,335 days, which is an extra 45 on that. So you got the 3.5 years. And then if you calculate this, you got like a few more months. But that's still the same period of time, 3.5 years. You know what I mean? It's still in that same area. Not no 7-year period, but a closer to a 3.5-year period when all this intense persecution that's greater than normal breaks out. But go thou thy way to the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. Now that's just the Daniel part. I'm trying to wrap it up and do the Revelation part. 3.5-year tribulation period is my argument. Okay, we're going to start off with Revelation chapter 7, verse 2 through 4. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of Israel. Oh, I just wanted to point out by that even though it's tribulation, like God is judging the earth. You know what I'm saying? The devil is persecuting the people of God, but God's judging the earth. But when God pours out these judgments on the earth, he has his people sealed. He has his people covered. You know what I mean? So it's not God judging his people. It's not God. It's not God judging his people. It's God judging the earth. You know what I'm saying? Which is mostly people that's not his people. You know what I mean? God's judging the earth for the wickedness and the sin and all that at the same time that the devil done came into power and he's persecuting everybody who not going to follow his system. All this going on at the same time. But God was probably pouring out judgments on the earth before the tribulation period, but it's going to continue during the tribulation period. Okay, Revelation chapter 9, verse 4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass or the earth, nor any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. So God is pouring out judgments on the earth, but not on his people. He's separating his people from the rest with that seal, like he did in Israel. In Egypt, when he got ready to deliver Israel from Egypt, he was doing plagues, but he was separating Israel from Egypt. The plagues was hitting the Egyptians. I know the last few plagues was hitting the Egyptians, but he was protecting the people of Israel from getting hit by those plagues. So Revelation 9 verse 4, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. So God's pouring out judgment, but he's sparing his people. Okay? Because it's two people at work. It's God at work and it's the devil at work through the Antichrist and that whole system. So okay, we're gonna stay in Revelation 9 verse 20 and 21. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk, neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. So this is God judging sin, basically. Sin and people that's not saved, basically. People that's not in line with God. You know what I mean? He pouring out judgments on the world, on sin, all that. Give me Revelation chapter 12, verse 4 through 6. We finna get into it right here. Revelation chapter 12, verse 4 through 6. Talking about the devil. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. Talking about the angels. It's also in Revelation, I think, chapter 1. He said the stars of the church represent the angels. He said the candlestick, what did he say? The candlestick represent the church. The candlesticks represent the churches, but the stars represent the angels of the churches. Okay? So it said it's giving it to you in a metaphor type of way. His tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. You know how the devil rebelled and he took a third part of the angels, a third part of heaven with him, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered for to devour her child as soon as it was born. Now check this out. The woman is Mary. The child is Jesus. And remember how Herod was trying to kill all the babies. Herod was trying to find Jesus and kill him because it was prophesied he was going to be king. He was king of the Jews. So he trying to kill all the babies. This is reference to that. Okay, verse 5. And she brought forth a man child, talking about Jesus, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Now, what's that rod of iron? He gonna be beating people over the head, do what I say, do this, do that. Now it's his word. Okay, and her child was caught up unto God into his throne. This is after Jesus' death, burial, resurrection, and then ascension after he finished his work. Okay, verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had the place prepared of God that they should feed her there. Now the woman ain't Mary. I gotta break that down. The woman is the Israelite, the Jewish race. The Jewish race gave birth to Mary gave birth to Jesus, but in this sense, the woman is the Jewish race which gave birth to Jesus. But it ain't all about race though. It's about faith now. You know what I'm saying? But it was the Jews are still God's chosen people. They the ones who gave birth to Jesus. That's why the devil persecute the Jews so much. And, you know, I believe blacks, we right behind. Some people say blacks are the Jews or the Hebrews. I ain't really into that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, the persecution be real. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's why the Jews hate it like that. People like Hitler, they hate the Jews because the Jews brought forth Jesus. Even Jesus said salvation is of the Jews. And he was a Jew. Okay. All right. So the woman fled into the wilderness where she have a place prepared to God that they should feed her there 1,203 score, 1,260 days. There go that 3.5 years again. So she's being persecuted. She got to flee to the wilderness For how long? 3.5 years during this Great Tribulation period, when the devil, the Antichrist, is going to want to wipe out the Jewish race. You know what I'm saying? Just like Hitler, history repeat itself. Okay. Revelation 12, 4 through 6. Let's go to verse 13 and 14. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman, not Mary, but the woman, the Jewish race. He persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, which what we just read, and into her place where she is nourished. She's taken care of for a time and times and half a time, 3.5 years, from the face of the serpent, the persecution of the devil or the Antichrist. Okay, that's 13 and 14. Okay, let's skip down to verse 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, the Jewish race, and went to make war, watch this, with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. All Christians. All Christians. He's mad at the Jewish race, not even because they believe in Jesus, but he mad at them because they gave birth to Jesus. Jesus came from that lineage. So he always gonna be mad at the Jewish people simply because the fact Jesus came from that race. And he's mad at Christians who believe in Jesus and keep his commandments and have the testimony of Christ. So he persecuting Christians and Jews. Christians and Jews. All right. Let's go to chapter 13. Chapter 4. I'm trying to wrap it up for this video cut off and start the next one. Matter of fact, man, let me go and do that.